Welcome into Saturday Locks, your home for college football picks of the week. Thank you for joining, and thank you to all who subscribe to the new channel, Saturday Locks. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you like the content. Thank you so much for the support of the show. All right, let's get into it. Last week was a little rough. Went 1-3 last week. The record on the season, though, is still not bad. 8-4, 66%. Again, as a reminder, everything is against the spread or over and unders. No money line favorites here. That's a little bit too easy. People count that in their percentages. I don't love that. It's got to be challenging. It's got to be tough. So that's what we have. Let's go over quickly last week. Again, not the prettiest. 4-0 the first week, 3-1 the second week, and last week 1-3. New Mexico, UCLA. I took UCLA minus 15.5. Totally wrong about that. I really just based that on the lines as far as the public bet. There was so much money going on New Mexico. I thought, ooh, I don't know. They're baiting you. But New Mexico's clearly the better team. UCLA's horrible. They fired their coach. No surprise. Clemson, Georgia Tech, once again, beaten by Clemson. But stay tuned for a bet tonight. Miami hit that one minus 17.5 and then just barely missed the over in the Ohio and Ohio State game. Pretty rough there. They could have had a late score, could have got a backdoor cover on that one, but it didn't work. So alas, we finished the week 1-3. Still 66%. We've got 4 more games for you tonight. And once again, normally we stick to the Saturday games, but I couldn't resist. I had to do a Friday special. First one up is Iowa at Rutgers. So for this one, I'm actually taking Iowa minus 2.5 on the road at Rutgers. This is an interesting one to me. Iowa's one of those teams that has kind of started off a bit quiet. It's not really clicking with them offensively. Everyone sort of thought that when they brought in Mark Gronowski that things were going to change. It was all of a sudden going to turn around for Iowa offensively. Hasn't exactly happened. So they beat Albany 34-7. That's nothing really. They lost at Iowa State 16-13, and they beat the crap out of UMass. So they played one good team and they lost. Understand that. But the one thing that you can never really question about Iowa is their defense and special teams. Once again, absolutely killer. Even Iowa State only scored 16 against them. You know that's what Iowa's getting. On the flip side of that, Rutgers has been doing the exact opposite and crushing teams, right? They squeaked by Ohio. Not a bad team. They beat the crap out of Miami of Ohio 45-17. We know about Miami of Ohio if you're a Badger fan. You know, they're a decent team, but I'm surprised they even got up 17 points. And they beat Norfolk State 60-10. They have not been tested. They have played 3 Group of 5 or FCS teams. This is going to be their first true matchup. A lot of hype around Rutgers. They're 3-0. They're exciting. Ethan Kaliakmanis, of course, former Minnesota quarterback, is there. I don't really believe in it. Rutgers got smashed up at home last year several times. It just doesn't seem like Kaliakmanis really has it. Now, against these crappy teams, sure. But is he going to do anything against Iowa's defense? I really don't think so. The line is 2.5. Sort of baiting you to bet Rutgers just because if you look at the record, you look at the scoring output that Rutgers has had. I don't really buy it again. Iowa finds ways to win games like this all the time. And if this was a 6-point line, 7-point line, it'd be very different. A touchdown win for Iowa, the final score in this game is probably going to be 19-15 or another 16-13 game. But the better special teams, the better defensive team is going to come out on top. To me, this one is, again, I normally don't want Friday games. I have another Friday special. Last week I lost my Friday special. Maybe that should be a sign. However, no, take Iowa minus 2.5 at Rutgers. All right, next up, NC State at Duke. Duke minus 3. Now, we took Duke earlier in the year against Illinois. And I said after that game that I still think that was the right bet. And I stand by that. Illinois beat the crap out of them. Not going to take anything away from Illinois. But Duke gave away so much nonsense in that game. They had a muffed punt. They had a penalty that turned into a first down. Red zone interceptions. It was an awful game for Duke. And I think Duke is way better than their 1-2 record really suggests, which just seems a little odd. They're also 0-3 against the spread. Not very good numbers to bet on Duke, but these things turn and they turn around fairly quickly for teams. you'll see a team that might be 0-3 or 0-4 against the spread, and then all of a sudden they win their next 3 or 4 games. Not to say that's definitely going to happen, but there's things about this game that I like. First of all, Duke's quarterback, Darian Mensah. I talked about him a few weeks ago before the Illinois game. He's had an incredible season. 8 touchdowns, 2 picks, 80 for 119. He's slinging the ball over the yard. And Duke has an offense that can score. NC State's defense, not the best. Now, on the flip side, NC State, CJ Bailey, quarterback, 5 touchdowns, 1 interception, 719 yards. He's had a pretty good season. And Duke hasn't, per se. Just going to go over Duke's record. So they beat Elon. That was a nothing game. They lost by a big amount to Illinois, 45-19. And then they lost at Tulane, 34-27. Tulane's a pretty good team. But again, I think the conventional wisdom here is Duke's not that good. Let's bet on NC State. Duke's playing at home. They feel like they're a better team than their record shows. That I stand by that. I think Duke kind of runs away with this. It wouldn't surprise me if this is a 10-point win for Duke. Again, just because Darian Mensah is the best player on that field, And I'm going to take that every time, especially when you have both pass defenses are really not that great. And so in that situation, you're probably going to trade some points. I expect it to be a high scoring game, but I'm taking Duke -3. All right, next up is my favorite game to watch of the week, the one that I know a lot of people are talking about, and that's Illinois at Indiana. This one is very interesting to me. Indiana at home, yes, against Illinois, 9th ranked team in the country. Indiana is, I believe, 19th. Illinois is getting 6.5 points. I'm going to say that again. They're getting 6.5 points at Indiana. So based on if you watch these shows the last couple of weeks, you know that I tend to look a lot at public money and also how bets are faring and sort of what the line is baiting you to do. It's baiting you to take Illinois. I mean, it's just screaming to take Illinois because the line has also moved. It started out around 4.5. It's moved up to 6.5. That's insane. That means there's a lot of people going on Indiana. The money is going on Indiana. The bets are actually split fairly close. Actually, Illinois has got more of the bets now. But the interesting thing here is, for me, this isn't really about the betting lines. This isn't about the public money. This is about the teams. I think Illinois is a really good team. Again, I did pick them to lose to Duke or to Duke to cover that game. But Luke Altmaier, I've said for a long time, is really good. I appreciate what Brett Bielema is doing in Illinois. And what I really don't believe in is Indiana's going to have another good season like they did last year. They took Virginia off their schedule. They've played literally no one. Okay. Old Dominion, Kennesaw State, and Indiana State. They're just, you have no idea whatsoever what Fernando Mendoza can really do because he hasn't played anybody. Meanwhile, Illinois at least has somewhat got tested. They certainly, played Duke. They played, I believe, Western Michigan. I mean, that's fine. But they at least played better teams than Indiana did. They are very, very strong defensively. They are very dependent on a really good quarterback, a quarterback that I trust more in Luke Altmaier than I do in Fernando Mendoza. And frankly, a coach in Brett Bielema, who Badger fans know very well. He has this team moving in the right direction. Illinois is the new Indiana. They're the team that everyone's thinking could make the college football playoff. And you know what? Illinois, maybe. Their schedule's not that tough. It's actually not tough at all. They could find their way in there, and kudos to Brett Bielema if he does that. It wouldn't shock me if Indiana found a way to win this game, but it's not by 6.5 points. This has close game written all over it. It has a fourth quarter battle, one possession game. I just don't think anyone wins by a touchdown, even in Illinois. I really don't. This is pretty much going to be the game that decides where these teams go for the rest of the year. My prediction to start the year was that Indiana wasn't really going to have that good of a season, and Illinois was maybe going to be that Big Ten team that could potentially sneak their way into the college football playoff. They're better than Indiana. I'm taking Illinois, and I'm taking the 6.5 points. And every week I like to take a bit of a flyer. And yes, you're going to see Clemson come up once again on these college football picks of the week. All right, Syracuse at Clemson. I'm taking Clemson -16.5. If Clemson burns me this time, I'm going to be pretty upset about it. I've been burned by them, and it's not good. A lot of people are really hating on this team, and I understand why. Cade Klubnik has underperformed. 3 touchdown, 3 picks. They're averaging 19 points a game. They don't look good. They looked bad against Georgia Tech. They haven't done anything that they were supposed to do at any point this season. And why would they win by 16 and a half points? Syracuse is not good. They lost by about 20 points to Tennessee. They went to overtime with UConn, and then they whooped up on Colgate, which doesn't count for anything. They've got a decent quarterback who's putting up pretty good numbers. Steve Angeli. I'm probably saying that name wrong. But he's actually leading the FBS in passing yards because they played virtually no one. And they did play Tennessee, which is obviously a very good team. But the fact that they went to overtime with UConn is not good. But this has to do more with Dabo Swinney. It has to do more with the fact that I can't see Clemson once again failing to either cover the spread or even potentially win the game and look good doing it. This is, again, a team that preseason was looked at as a favorite to make to the playoff and maybe an outside pick to win the national title. They're now unranked because they've had a very poor run of games. They're looking for revenge. They're at home. That's a very tough environment to play in. This is a bad Syracuse team. I don't think this game is close. Honestly, Clemson just runs away with this. I really do believe that. I could see this game being 25, 30 points. When you have these teams in college that have points to prove, it's very, very difficult to pick against them. And I've done that a little bit. I've lost a little bit of that this year, but I feel like this is the game. Now, I'm going to say this right now. If Clemson burns me, I will never bet on them again this season. They are dead to me if they lose this game. If they don't even cover the spread, they're dead to me. But I'm taking Clemson and I'm laying in the 16 and a half points. Let's go over those 4 again. Friday special, Iowa minus 2.5 points at Rutgers. Think Gronowski gets it done. Don't think Iowa's going to have a great season, but I think Rutgers is not good despite early numbers coming in saying that their offense is a lot better. Don't buy it. Duke, going with them for a second time this season, -3 at home to NC State. Darian Mensah, best player on the field, taking Duke -3. Illinois +6.5 at Indiana, taking the points, taking the Illini. They're better. I think Luke Altmaier is one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten. And I don't believe in Indiana. They haven't played anybody, and they're going to get punished for it. And lastly, Syracuse at Clemson. Clemson -16.5. I recognize this is a flyer. I'm sure I'm going to get a little crap for this. That's okay. I hope this comes through. We are 8-4 on the year, 66%. Those are your 4 games for this week. Let's see how it shakes out. That's Saturday Locks. Thank you for joining us. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button so you know when the new videos come out. They will come out probably every Friday for games going into the weekend. Thank you so much for joining us in support of the new show.